Good afternoon, Kelowna. We're live here with Scott Needles, and we're going to talk Bitcoin. Welcome to this episode on Kelowna Now Live. I'm Jim Check, by the way. Scott Needles. With who are you with right now?
My company is called Block Rewards.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, Bitcoin supposed to crash, wasn't it? I mean, according to some of the financial people out there, the people I watched, it was supposed to go as low as $12,000, bottom out, and then go back up. Can we pull up a chart? Just pull up a chart there. Oh, it's coming. It's just like Bitcoin. It's coming. Right? There you go. Maybe just talk us through this chart because that's the low, right? Because the one guy that we both watch, I won't use his name right now because he says a meme with Bitcoin people. But he had a bottom of $12,000. And the low is about 16.
Yeah. It's been an interesting year. I mean, it's been a really strong year for price action in Bitcoin. It's up over 100% year to date, and every time Bitcoin kind of does this, it's been declared dead like hundreds of times. Over 400 times people have declared Bitcoin dead. Inevitably, it starts to rise up again, and onlookers are sort of mystified as to what's driving it, and it's
been a crazy year though, right? We have FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried, one of the biggest financial frauds in history, who was dealing not so much in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is part of it, but he was dealing in his own, what do they call them? What kind of coins do they call them?
Yeah,
shitcoins.
Yeah, that's right.
FTX, right? FTX was their own coin, and they were kind of like perpetrating a fraud by using, allegedly, Alameda Research they were kind of using
trading against their own customers.
Yeah, so they
were doing that, it's a massive crime that's been completely wiped under the carpet.
And then they were fighting with CZ,
yeah,
another kind of Bitcoin famous guy, Binance.
Yeah,
so now under arrest.
There's a big distinction because neither of those personalities are Bitcoin people, and cryptocurrency.
But they played off of Bitcoin, though.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is the largest asset in that cryptocurrency space, but Bitcoin people don't really think of Bitcoin as being a cryptocurrency. So the innovation that Bitcoin is something that can be copied an infinite number of times, and that's what the cryptocurrency space is. They're copies.
Do you
of
think
the original
that
code.
all that, because out of Bitcoin, which became very popular, created hundreds, if not thousands, of alternative coins, as they call them?
Yeah.
Do you think that helped or hurt Bitcoin?
No, it absolutely hurts Bitcoin a lot, and it's because it creates a confusion around what the innovation with Bitcoin is, by suggesting that there's going to be subsequent innovations of things that Bitcoin maybe didn't do or doesn't do, and none of those things necessarily have proven to have any real value in the real world.
They made a lot of people rich that created alternative coins, at least temporarily, because some of them, like Sam Bankman-Fried, was a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
CZ, the same. And then there's tons of other people that just started, companies and started some coins. Even some local people did some coins and stuff too. And that NFT craze is almost dead, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think so. They're all unregistered securities. Anything that is, if you can create a token and sell it with the prospect of it being something that appreciates in price for people who buy it, you're creating a security. So
the SEC has been slow, especially in the States, to kind of go after them. Obviously, the FTX scandal has motivated them to go after more, and I see it more in the news with CZ now. Binance is there's charges, and then I think that'll flow down to a lot of the other coins too, because there's probably a lot of people that have lost a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're trying to walk a delicate balance because they don't want to drive all that innovation to other countries that are going to be a little bit more lenient and allow for more innovation in that space. So there's always those companies have a strong lobby. So you're seeing, even in Canada, the kind of altcoin crypto lobby has a lot of money behind it, and it's been effective in slowing down strong legislation against crypto.
And lots of the big investment banks are involved.
That's too. Right. Yeah, JP Morgan. You're going to see a lot of different.
And the bankers run the world. I didn't say it, but hey,
they do.
Can we pull the chart back up? The first chart again. Maybe walk us through some of the. Where was the the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, that's in March, isn't that drop right there?
No, so
No?
that actually happened in December of 22.
Oh, okay.
So Bitcoin did actually kind of bottom at the end of last year.
And that was FTX kind of dragged it
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
right?
So that's where people were assuming it was going to head even lower. And the thing is that people are buying Bitcoin today not because they think that it. I mean, people are always buying because they think it's going to go up, but it's a scarce form of money in a world where money is becoming less and less scarce all the time. So Bitcoin is a finite form of money. It's the only finite form of money. And
well, I would argue gold, but hey.
well, we have no idea how much gold is in the ground. So
Well, it's finite though. We know that for sure.
it's rare.
'Cause-
It's not
'cause-
finite. There's
well,
a
sure it
difference
is, 'cause
between rare
there's-
and
sure
finite.
it is, because if the planet's only so big, it is finite.
Well,
We just don't know how big.
we
it is.
don't know how
That's
finite
right.
it is. Yeah,
There
it's
you
not
go.
provably finite. Yeah.
Well,
This is why Bitcoin is demonetizing gold. So if you look at we didn't pull that chart up, but gold price in Bitcoin has lost like 90% of its value over the last 15 years.
yeah, I don't want to turn this into a gold versus Bitcoin. I just want to talk Bitcoin today. 153% though.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive, right? What was the dip in March there? What was the catalyst there?
Hard to say, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like these things, if you zoom out on the Bitcoin chart over longer time frames, these individual dips get to be pretty small. So like if we were to zoom that chart out
Can we go to all?
to the all time,
Looks like this chart is live right now because we're watching the trading happening.
yeah. So you could zoom into 2017 and there's like a tiny little dip there, and that was an 80% drop too. So the Bitcoin chart repeats, and if you chopped it at 2019, that part where the peak that happened in 18 would look like the chart where it peaked in 21. It's just that it gets bigger every single time.
And let's just remind everybody that what we're looking at is US dollars, not Canadian dollars. So Bitcoin is around what, 60 Canadian?
Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, in terms of global assets, Bitcoin is still tiny. Like the entire market cap of Bitcoin is 800 million ish right now. Sorry, 800 billion. There's 900 trillion of investable assets in the world. And so Bitcoin today at this price represents like not even close to 1%.
Can we pull up that
all the money out there?
You're talking about all the banking? That's that third chart that we were looking at. That's what you're saying, that's all the investment banks, kind of the money that's under their management.
Well, so this is actually a chart of 2024 appears to be on track to be a big year for Bitcoin, and it's because of pending spot ETF applications of the largest asset managers in the world. So that's what this chart is showing. So BlackRock is a company that is becoming more well known, or more in the public space.
That owns everything.
They own everything. And they are in the final stages of approval of a spot ETF in the U.S. And an ETF is a way for people to buy Bitcoin without having to go through the process of understanding how to buy Bitcoin or how to hold it. And this is a big deal. So once these ETFs are approved, if somebody wanted to have a 5% exposure to Bitcoin in their portfolio, all they need to do is call their broker or financial advisor and ask for that to happen. It can happen. So this is already possible in Canada right now. So I think in Canada we don't necessarily think of it as such a big deal, but the U.S. is a much bigger market. And so what this chart is showing, there are a number of different asset managers who have applied for spot ETF products. The way ETFs work is that it's likely they will all be approved at once, because if the SEC were to approve one in front of all the others, that would basically be picking a winner. And so if there's 30 trillion of assets under management on the sidelines that are going to now have an easy access to get some price exposure to Bitcoin, the last chart just showed Bitcoin's up over 100% a year. You probably want some in your portfolio. Some of this money is going to flow into Bitcoin in 2024.
So there are financial analysts and big investors like Berkshire Hathaway that are dead set against Bitcoin, that think it's vaporware or whatever you want to call it. I think even Jamie Dimon, not a big fan.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would take Jamie Dimon, what he says publicly about Bitcoin, very, very with a grain of salt, because I'm sure that he really knows what it does. firms like Berkshire Hathaway have misunderstood what the innovation of Bitcoin is. And the confusion is whether or not it's an investment, and it has performed well as an investment. But Bitcoin is money, and it is in the process of demonetizing all other forms of money.
The problem I have with it, if you call it money, is it's very volatile, right? Like it's,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's gone from, well, I mean, we've seen inflation for sure, but it's basically the trend line is, I guess, down, right?
Yeah,
Whereas,
so our money is volatile down.
yeah,
It loses money constantly. It loses value constantly. And what changes about our money is the rate at which it loses value.
mm-hmm.
So Bitcoin's price in dollars is volatile up.
Based on that, right? Because
And
it's saying it's, but it doesn't, like if it's based, like if it's more stable, then it should kind of match that, like the up and the down, but it doesn't, right? Like it kind of like, the down thing is Bitcoin can like 152%. The dollar didn't drop 152% this year.
that's right.
So
Yeah, it's a nonlinear process on shorter time frames for
Right.
sure. And that's what people need to understand. But as terms of what it offers people who own it,
mhm.
the use case is having the opportunity to own some money that
Right.
doesn't get diluted.
Having targets that are just like what some people would say are ludicrous. Does that help it though? When some people say like the target for Bitcoin is $1 million a coin. That sounds more like hyper, like, you know what I mean? That's like hype. I mean, like as opposed to, yeah, that's
Yeah, no,
like realistic.
yeah,
right?
I think that's just people not understanding the market for what Bitcoin does. So it's an opportunity to put some of your wealth in currency that can't be diluted. And basically, not just every person on the planet has a need for that type of thing, but every company, every pension, every endowment, every entity in the world right now is subject to the devaluation of currency. And so Bitcoin is basically the killer app with money. And this is why it's doing what it's doing from a price standpoint over longer periods of time. Because people are gradually over time understanding that you have a finite money, and the money that you have otherwise is programmed to become less valuable in the future. Like this is a feature of how our money works.
Mm-hmm. So again, one of the biggest things that holds people up, I think, is how to get it, how to use it, how to transact in it, because it's still kind of mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
Is that getting any better?
Yeah, there are, the level of innovation that's happening in Bitcoin, if you really start to study it and understand it, is pretty inspiring. These things take a lot of time. So the first email that was ever sent was sent in 1969. And I remember sending my first email in like 1996 and thinking at that time, you had to go through the process of getting an email address and figuring out,
I do remember all of that.
right.
Yeah.
Being a part of society involves constantly acquiring new skills, and Bitcoin requires new skills. And it also does need work improving the point of sale interface and all these things. Canada's a great example. We have really great point of sale systems for debit and credit and all these things. Lots of the world isn't like that though.
Yeah.
So elsewhere, we've seen Bitcoin spending really adopting more, where their money system, their existing banking system, doesn't work nearly as well as ours.
So the other question that I think a lot of people have is, well, maybe let's finish this first. How does like somebody like myself, if I wanted to buy some, how do I utilize it as opposed to other than just buying it and leaving it in a wallet and selling it when I'm done? Like, how do you like use it on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, so there are companies that will let you pay your credit card bills with Bitcoin, so you can spend regular money and pay that bill down. I mean, so there are ways of interacting with Bitcoin and traditional payment mechanisms like that. But otherwise, you need to find merchants that take it. And there is, for example, a company based in Vancouver called Koinos that is solely dedicated to helping merchants figure out how to accept Bitcoin payments. And the adoption of merchant adoption of Bitcoin in Vancouver is very high.
Right, because it was a couple years ago where some merchants in Toronto were doing it. Right, they're starting to take it. Like if you could buy a wrap or something like that. And but I haven't seen it seemed to fall off when Bitcoin fell off though too. Right, like
yeah. And this is the thing. Largely right now it's I think driven by demand, and so businesses will take it when customers want to pay with it, or I think the other way around, when businesses start losing out on business because they can't accept Bitcoin, We're not there yet. I
Yeah.
mean, but we're still early.
And then taxation, like how is CRA dealing with it right now? Is it a currency? Is it an investment? Like how, like, because obviously a lot of people right now have these wallets that are, I guess, secretive.
Yeah,
You know what
I mean,
like, how do you, like, I mean, there's people that become billionaires. Are they paying tax on this?
Yeah.
Or, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's
how's that working?
pseudo secretive. I think the CRA would definitely be able to know if you had a big gain on Bitcoin, and so with big transactions, if you're spending it and you're up, then you're also spending money, like you're paying a gain on money that you didn't have before you bought it, right? So yes, it's a taxable
So
event.
are people claiming it? That's
I don't know.
you know what
I
I
would
mean?
assume so. I am.
There you go. You won't say it here for sure.
Yeah.
Because it would be, I think, classified as an investment right now.
Yeah, it's a commodity.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so it'd be the
now,
same as
if you bought it at $1 and you traded it at, it's a transaction. Once you transact in it, then it would be a capital gain.
Yeah, that's right. But if you sold it down, you can also have capital
For sure, you
loss.
have capital loss then, right? But I imagine it's harder for them to track or trace it at this point because of. But it's actually easy if they can open it up, right? Because everything's tracked, right?
Yeah, it's actually not that hard. And if you're interacting with a bank account on either end, there's going to be more or less money coming in or out.
So okay.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it offshore or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that is a thing that is real. So countries that want to get strict about trying to overregulate Bitcoin specifically, it's called jurisdictional arbitrage. So that money can very easily go elsewhere.
Wasn't that how kind of Sam Bankman-Fried made most of his money in the first place with arbitrage?
That story, I don't think is actually holds any water.
Right, because supposedly he was trading Bitcoin in
buying it in the U.S. and selling it in Korea. But
right.
I don't think there's any records of those transactions. I think it's a little bit of a myth.
Right. So some of the other risks for Bitcoin, if countries develop their own currency or Bitcoin, like the U.S. is supposedly doing something, I think Europe is looking at something. Lots of countries are looking at their own version of a digital coin.
Yeah, I don't think that poses a risk to Bitcoin per se, because no government issued money will ever offer the promise of what Bitcoin offers its users, and that is money that can't be diluted without consent. So governments are spending more money than they have, and they will have to spend more money than they have, spending more money than they are spending now in the future because of the way a debt accumulates and the cost of servicing debt accumulates. So we're guaranteed to see a continual and accelerating rate of the depreciation of currencies. And no digital currency offered by any government is going to have a hard money principle behind it, because governments don't want hard money principles. They want to be able to spend without discretion. And so
if those ETFs open and they start trading, there'll obviously be more transparency because there'll be more SEC regulations involved in there. Then wouldn't you think that they would ask to see inside wallets to see who has what?
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the reason why they're going to be allowed to do it at all, because it is very auditable. And so
I mean, it's blockchain, right?
Yeah. So, and I think this is part of the problem if you compare, say, what happened with gold ETFs, because it is difficult to verify gold that's being custodied. And so when the gold ETFs were approved just after the year 2000, gold price kind of exploded, but then since then it's been largely flat. And I think part of that has to do with the ETFs on the gold side have enabled price suppression. And with Bitcoin, because it's auditable, every dollar that flows in will have to buy $1 of Bitcoin. And if you can't prove that,
right, because they're saying there's a lot of naked shorts on,
that's right,
on gold stuff.
Yeah.
They say a lot of countries that are shorted don't have it, and that kind of stuff. But that would probably be a lot of people, I think, buy Bitcoin because they think that's where they can hide assets. Do you know what I mean? Like if we kind of keep it away from people. But I think if the government gets involved, I'm pretty sure they're going to open it up so they can see inside those accounts.
So, I mean, I don't think the point with Bitcoin is about hiding it, because
it's been used for a lot of illegal things.
Sure. But I mean, even this idea about opening it up, like anybody can see into any Bitcoin wallet today already. That's always been possible.
Yeah. I could see yours.
Yeah, absolutely. You would have to find out which one belongs to me.
That's the tricky part.
That's right. But that this is a feature of how it works.
Have they ever figured out how, if you have, say you had $1 billion in Bitcoin and you forgot your password, is there any ways to recover that these days?
It depends on what you've done, but there are a lot of
We have
lost
somebody
Bitcoin.
trying to call in, or what? They can just put their question on Twitter, unless you know the person.
I don't.
Nah. So they can put their question on Twitter right now. We'll let people know when we start taking calls.
Yeah, there's a lot of lost Bitcoin, which also contribute to the idea that prices could go higher because there's only 21 million Bitcoin in total. There's about 2 million on exchanges right now that are actually for sale. So that the number that's liquidly available, and there's another sort of maybe a little bit less than 2 million that are left to be mined over the next 100 plus years. So when you add in 1 million, 2 million, 4 million lost Bitcoin, there's actually much less Bitcoin available.
So those are non-recoverable though once they're lost. So
Yeah.
like they're basically like at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And they're gone.
Yeah.
Whales.
Yeah.
Explain whales to the people that don't know what a whale is.
I mean, a whale is just somebody who has a lot of Bitcoin.
Are you a whale?
I maybe I'm a dolphin. I don't know what the right sea creature is for me.
So can you see when accounts are being traded, can you see if it's a whale that's trading or if it's a dolphin or
Absolutely.
a minnow?
Yeah. So there are accounts on Twitter that track the big wallets, and when they move significant amounts of Bitcoin, there you know, for people who are interested. Yeah. The biggest wallet is a wallet that has 1 million Bitcoin in it that will never move, and that's sort of proof that the founders have left.
So that's
left
the
Bitcoin.
founders?
It's Satoshi's wallet. Yeah.
So that's never had a transaction in it?
Yeah.
So who owns that? We don't know?
We don't know.
Nobody knows. See, that's what I mean. Like nobody knows.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the more high-profile people out there that owns a lot of Bitcoin and continues to buy, I think, Michael Saylor.
Yeah.
How much Bitcoin does he have?
Yeah,
because he has to disclose because that's on financial statements.
Yeah, that's right. So I think MicroStrategies, the company he's the executive chairman of, has close to 200,000 Bitcoin. And personally himself, I think he has about 17,000-ish. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, Saylor's a genius, and he will be Harvard's business school case study for the next 50 years for sure. Bitcoin has huge potential.
He's tough to listen to. I just got to say.
Oh, I'm a hardcore Saylor bro. I love Michael Saylor. I find him like.
I think he hurts the brand, but hey, that's me.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
I watched that debate with him and Frank, and depending on when you watched it, when Bitcoin fell down, then Michael looks like a
no.
You know.
he destroyed Frank. Frank couldn't understand why he lost. Yeah, but
there you go.
Yeah, it's just not. It's
all perception, right?
No, not really.
I saw it the other way.
It's people not understanding Bitcoin.
That's true. I still don't understand. I honestly don't understand. That's why I have you in here again today.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm still mystified in how, like, if I wanted to go buy some, I know I can do it with some wallets like Wealthsimple and different things like that, right? But other than buying it to keep it, I don't see a lot of like possibilities in transacting in it.
Yeah,
that's me though. I don't look for it either though.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a very Canadian thing, and it's a common opinion here. Canada doesn't need to drive the adoption of Bitcoin.
No, I don't believe we do, but I'm just saying, if for me to look at it, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You doing nothing with it is also doing something.
I guess.
Yeah.
There you go. Is there anything that you want to add, like in projections for this year, 2024 coming up? Do you do any of that stuff? Or?
No.
You're saying if the funds are gonna dip their toes in, that should drive it up.
Yeah. So these announcements about the ETFs in the U.S. are meant to come very early in the year. So if they're approved, and everyone expects they will be, I think you're going to see a lot of Bitcoin in the media because those companies like BlackRock also own the media. So you're going to see a lot of Bitcoin stories.
So on the other side of that, though, typically in a lot of different things, like including the pot stocks when they were legalized, like that culmination moment, the moment they were legalized, they all fell off a cliff, right? Because most of the price was already baked into the stocks.
Sell the news event.
Do you know what I mean? Like so, and the same thing. I'd say the ETF. I think a lot of that's already baked into the price if we're expecting it. And then when the actual thing happens, sometimes you get a sell-off. So I would caution people to think that it's going to be a big jump. when a lot of that may already be baked in, right?
Yeah, so I'm not suggesting that the next day there's going to be a jump. What it is it's creating a new way for a whole bunch of money in the largest capital market in the world to find its way into Bitcoin in a much simpler fashion.
Right.
So that will play out basically over forever. The price of Bitcoin can go up forever. And so, you know,
you and I have done several of these now,
Yeah.
podcasts, video. Now we're doing a video, and I'm still on the fence. I'm an older gold bug or whatever you want to call it, like a believer in hard assets. Bitcoin is kind of unique, and it says that its symbol is a gold coin with a dollar sign on it. So it tries to take whatever it can from the dollar and whatever it can from gold, and kind of symbolizes that it's gold and money at the same time, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the logic behind the logo, I take it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's the logo. It's not like Bitcoin's not a company, so their marketing department didn't come up with that logo. There are lots
No, I
of
get
there are
it.
lots
Yeah,
of
yeah.
logos people use, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's an innovation that basically took all the best qualities of gold, other than being able to wear it.
Other than being able to actually hold it.
Yeah, but
I
I mean,
like physically in your hand.
about how valuable is that?
Holding it in your hand?
Yeah.
Well, gold has other uses though, right? It's in your phone. It's in.
Yeah.
lots
Oh,
of-
totally. No, and that's its future.
It actually has industrial use. Too,
Yeah,
right?
gold
So
has a great future as an
Yeah.
industrial metal.
It's a superconductor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Bitcoin is basically gold. You can teleport anywhere in the world. You know, gold
That
is.
sounds like Star Trek. Now.
Yeah, totally.
Anything else you want to add today?
Uh,
You should come back more often.
hey, I would love to.
You can keep
It-
telling me how
it-
stupid I am.
It's gonna be a big year for Bitcoin. You know what I would like to add? If you're interested to learn more about Bitcoin, it's a great time to be doing it. And I have started a podcast that is aimed at people who don't have a massive background in Bitcoin. So there's lots of Bitcoin podcasts, and most of them tend to be geared towards people who are, you know, obsessed with Bitcoin. And so my podcast is different in that I have subject matter experts coming on to talk about Bitcoin, but do it in a way that you don't need to have a huge background in the subject matter. So it's called The Block Reward, and it's on all the major platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube. And
There you go.
Yeah. So check it out.
And how do they find it? They go to Block Rewards just on those Apple podcasts. Do you have a Twitter account or anything
Yeah.
like that? Or?
I my own personal Twitter is Lantern Bitcoin. Block Rewards with an underscore in between. You can find the podcast there, and blockrewards.ca.
There you go. That's all the time we have for Bitcoin today. Thank you, Scott.
Cool. Thanks for having me,
And
Jim.
Thank you for watching Kelowna Now.